I'm glad we have this opportunity to connect today. And I wanted to cover an important topic which came from one of you when we asked for specific topics which we wanted to cover. And you wanted us to cover what do we do when customers ghost you? And that's interesting. I mean, in fact, ghosting means that you have put in a lot of effort and suddenly your customer goes cold. They don't respond. They refuse to take your calls. They suddenly go missing. Or perhaps in other polite cases, they entertain you, but no progress happens. Irrespective, ghosting is something that you could avoid while you are in a sales situation. In fact, there are three scenarios where ghosting happens, and we can talk about how do we handle each of those scenarios. The first scenario for ghosting is where you send in your proposal and boom, nothing happens. So what exactly do you do? Remember, good customer engagement skills are not a substitute for poor selling skills. So what you need to be careful about is even before you send in that proposal is to have the if-then conversation with the customer, which is to say, if I send you this proposal, then please tell me what specific actions would you take. If there is no reciprocity of those actions, then possibly your proposal is what we call column fodder. They're just wanting it for comparison. So please always ensure before you send in a proposal, find out what exactly are the steps, the timelines, and the progress metrics so that you could be in control of sending that proposal. The second kind of scenario when it comes to ghosting is when you have done your proof of concept and then your customer completely clams up, nothing happens. Here again, this is a wonderful way where you can be proactive to say, hey, we would be most happy to do this proof of concept. Before we jump in and commit our resources, let's go ahead and talk about what specific outcomes would you like? And therefore, how do those outcomes show up on your business results? Because it is in this connection of the proof of concept to the kinds of outcomes that we can get that lets us know whether this POC has been successful. Sometimes we even go ahead and say for POCs, can we get in the financial decision maker? Can we get in the technical decision maker? Can we get in the operational decision maker? Perhaps the CIO, the CFO, the COO, all of the critical stakeholders involved upfront so that you're able to understand their criteria for decision making before you go ahead and commit. Remember, never make a deal needlessly more expensive. The third scenario where you would find in ghosting is where you have spent a lot of resource, lot of time getting your customer to visit you in office, sometimes even travel overseas so that they can meet your company's executives. Sometimes people call it executive briefing. They ship them across to places in the US, places in Europe, where they're able to meet executives, go through different scenarios, finally gain confidence. And in fact, in these kinds of meetings, you see your customers at their best, giving you all the energy. But the moment you come back home, nothing happens, right? So here is where, again, you can exercise a little bit of caution. Sometimes I go ahead and tell salespeople that they should build what I call as a deal control sheet. So what really happens here is that you crack the scenarios that are most important for the customer. Think about what they would like to hear or experience from these executives that will give them the confidence for them to move forward. Because if you don't connect the dots between your efforts, their experiences, and their outcomes, nobody else will. I'm hopeful that these three scenarios around ghosting gives you some perspectives on what you should do proactively rather than reactively. Please remember the fundamental principle in sales: never make a deal needlessly more expensive. Also ensure that good customer engagement skills are not a substitute for poor selling skills, right? So ensure that you're able to get the criteria up front, set the design up front before you commit all of the resources. Good luck in your journey as you escape ghosting with your customers.